Hello friends, today I am going to tell you something very interesting. It's a very interesting story. Now normally people think why they need to do retirement planning, especially the younger generation. It's very difficult for us to actually explain to them why they need to plan for retirement, and that is where exactly the problem is, because some of them cannot see that far and think and understand what could be the situation then. They are so much focused on the present. All the people who are newly married, maybe they just got a child, and they are so busy with handling the current affairs that retirement becomes a very long drawn thing which they think they can postpone and think about it later as it comes nearer. Many people think that we will look at it when we cross the bridge, when we come to the bridge. How to cross the bridge is what we will see when we come to the bridge. And today's story is so powerful that it can actually tell people that you cannot prepare when you reach the bridge. You need to prepare for it much earlier, otherwise you will not be able to cross the bridge. And therefore it's like the bridge doesn't exist. You need to create that bridge. And if you reach there and after that if you start thinking about the bridge, it will not work. So my dear friends, so what I do is I do not talk about retirement planning with my clients. I talk to them about something different. So I tell them, okay sir, let us just right now just forget about this, about retirement and all that. It's okay. Let's look at something different. And I tell them this story. And I explained to them, I said, sir, there was this one kingdom where there was, there used to be a king and, very good old days. And in that particular kingdom, there was this particular, they had this kind of thing that they did where it was a convention or it was a ritual, you can say, not a convention or it was a ritual where the king was actually elected by the people. Very strange. Because when you look at or think about king, it's always monarchy, it's not democracy. But this particular kingdom had this, very weird kind of way in which they would elect the king. And what used to happen is once they elected the king was allowed to rule that place only for 5 years. Okay, the king was allowed to rule that place for 5 years. And once he started ruling that, and at the end of 5 years, there was again a very kind of strange ritual which they did. And what did they do? They actually took the king after the end of 5 years and took him in a very big procession across the whole kingdom with lot of band baja, lot of band and music and dance. And they would actually take the king, and now you will be really scared what they would do. So they would take this king to the end of the kingdom, very far end of the kingdom, where there was a very big river. And across this river, there was a very thick jungle. And there were a lot of these wild animals. So what the people of the kingdom would do is they would take this king, and then there would be a nice decorated boat. And the king was then, taken off from the car or the truck, and then he was put into the boat. And then a lot of people would just row him over to the other side and just put him there and come back. And they would come back, and what would happen is the minute that king was left there, all the wild animals would come and capture him, take him into the forest and kill him. And that is what, once this king was killed, that is when these people in the boat would come back and they would announce that yes, our whole ritual is complete. It looks a little weird, but that is what exactly used to happen. Now what happened is once, all these used to happen every 5 years, this thing was continuing, people were being elected, and then, after 5 years, the same process was being done. Now there was this one guy suddenly once who was very young. Normally what would happen is people who are very old, people who did not have, kind of their lifestyle was not very good, they did not have any future. So those are the people who would stand for this election, because They knew at least they can enjoy the 5 years, and after that any which ways they are going to die. But for the first time, a very young gentleman, hardly about 35 years old, stood for the election. And everybody was shocked. They said, oh my God, everybody was like, completely dazed. Why is he giving up his life? Why is he throwing his life? He knows he is going to be killed after 5 years. So why does he want to take this risk? And that's what exactly everybody started talking. But he stood for the election. He says, I am very sure why I am standing. And people were like foxed, and they said, okay, fine, if you want to stand. Lot of elderly people tried to dissuade him, tell him that, this is not the way, don't throw up your life, you have such a future, your wife is there, your kids are there, they are so small, should not do that. He says, uncle, auntie, don't worry, it's all right, you can vote for me. And he actually stood for election and he won. Now what happened the minute that he won? He took over the charge of the kingdom, and then, immediately he called all his ministers, all his advisors, and then he told them that I want one project to be done, and this project is very vast and it's very, very important. So they said, okay sir, what do you want? And he says, I don't want any person in the kingdom to know about this. So they all said, okay fine, it's all right, it's a secret, no issues, we will not tell anybody. But they said, what is the project? And he says, what we have to do is, please call all the vendors, and some secretively we can appoint some vendor. I want that at the end of the kingdom and across the river there is a very, very big forest. So I want that forest to be completely cut and made into a plain place, so that I have some other project. So they were like all very concerned, and they were shocked. But he says, don't worry, is something very, very interesting that I am doing. It will be for the good of the kingdom, the people will be very happy. But tell me how much money it will cost and how much time it will take. So of course 2-3 contractors they came, they offered to do this, they told their price, and then all the ministers told the king. They said, sir, if you are going to do this, then it will be very difficult for you to manage the kingdom. Not only that, your own lifestyle may take a hit. You will have to really cut down and curtail some things. So the king said, I don't mind, it's all right, if I have to curtail, let me curtail, it's okay, but you please go ahead, tell me the time. So they said it would take about a year, approximately year and a half, at least, to do that. And they told him what is the budget, and based on that the king signed the decree, and he said, let's go, and he sanctioned that budget, and immediately, one of the contractor was selected, and he was made to promise that he would not tell anybody. And he started his work right at the far end of that kingdom. Nobody knew, because normally they just went every 5 years, and since this king was just elected, they had just gone there few months back, and therefore they were not too very concerned. Nobody really looked at it. What this king did was, it was around 1.5 years, the whole forest he got it cleared. After that he again called his advisors, because his ministers told him, sir, your project number 1 is now over. It is about 1.5 years and we have cleared this jungle. So now what do you want to do? So he said, now my dream is to build a new kind of a kingdom, a new kind of a new city. It would be a smart city, it would be a very new city with all the latest infrastructure and with all the latest kind of things, And I want to build this city, and this is the way. So I want some architect to come. There will be also a palace, where the king of that particular place will stay, and it will be like not like this town, it would be really like a smart kind of city, really well planned. So all architects were called, and they did this survey, and then they started giving him lot of suggestions and drawings, and they made lot of designs, and then the king selected one design. Then he said, based on that, let us appoint a contractor. And a contractor was appointed to do that, to really give shape to this whole, new city, which was a smart city. And because of that thing which was there, what happened was that the contractor came, he gave his quotation, he said it would take about 2.5-3 years to really do this. And he says, okay, it's no problem, we can, it's all right. But the budget was quite stiff, and the money required was quite, a bit. So again the king said, I don't mind, I will curtail some 25, 30, 40% of my lifestyle, but I would like to get this done. And finally the contractor was selected, appointed, lot of things were done, and the contract was given to him, and he was asked to now go and build this smart city. And lo and behold, this contractor started working, and slowly but surely this new city, which was a smart city with the latest infrastructure, was coming up. And after about 3.5 years, when he actually went there, around 3 years ke baad he went, and the contractor said, now it is all ready, why don't you come? And the king went there and saw, and he was very happy. He said, this is excellent. And then after a few months, his tenure or his term of being a king was over. And what happened was, like normal, the people elected a new king, and as usual at the end of once that person's coronation was over, they took this king, and like the normal ritual, they had on this very big truck on which they had all this band and music, and it was decorated because they wanted to bid farewell to their king. And what happened was, prior to that, he had also given a few of his his whole family members, his very close friends, few of the ministers and everybody, he had given them place there, and they had all shifted to that new smart city. And the rest of the people, he had told that once I am going there, then you can start selling this for the other people. And of course, on the day when he was supposed to be taken, the truck came, the music was started, and all the people gathered to bid farewell to their king. But for the first time, there was something different. The king was dancing. So many times and so many years this thing was taking place, they had never seen any king dancing. So he was like dancing. So people were very curious, and they were wondering, why is the king dancing? This is his last day today. He is going to be eaten up by all the wild animals. And he was dancing. So in between somewhere, some people went and asked him. He says, my dear king, why are you dancing? You are going to lose your life. Why are you dancing? It's very weird. So he says, no, in the last 5 years, I was planning for this day. I was planning for this day when I had to go across the river. Today I am very happy because I have planned for this particular day, and I know what it is going to be like after crossing the river. And they were all kind of very phased. They didn't know. So of course the procession went. They put him into the boat, and the boat, the people rowed him across the river. And while they were going there, they couldn't believe their eyes. Lo and behold, it had turned out, the whole forest had turned into a very beautiful city. And there were a lot of people there with garlands and with music and with band waiting there to welcome their new king. The rules that this new king had made there, that there would not be an election, he would be the monarch, and everybody accepted it. And in the new city, he actually went there, he took charge of that new kingdom, he became the king, and after that, all his family members, continued to take the throne. But very important thing is, after telling this whole story, I asked my client, sir, have you prepared for crossing the river? Sir, you are also going to cross the river someday when your income will stop. So have you made preparations when the day comes, when you have to cross the river? And then I take the form and I give him the pen and I say, sir, if you sign here, this is a mark of your planning that you are going to do, which will help you when you cross the river. When your time comes to cross the river, you will be dancing and enjoying that now you have completed the working part of your life, and now you can just enjoy the rest of your journey. Thank you.